So, the long-awaited proper sequel to the critically acclaimed Subnautica has finally been teased with the trailer. Although after Sub-Zero and some of the things that game got wrong, I can say I'm excited for the game, but a bit worried that the Subnautica team might repeat some of the same mistakes. I loved Subnautica 1, even though I'm afraid of the ocean, which in hindsight might be the reason why I like it so much. It really is one of the best and most unique games that I ever played, and Sub-Zero just wasn't really that. In fact, I like the game so much that if I had 3 wishes, it would be $1 million to get a VTuber model made by the same dude who does 2 kinds, and to erase my memory of Subnautica so that way I could play it for the first time again. And with the sequel up on the horizon, I think I might get that. Although I think all of us knew that this was coming, I myself tried to avoid news of the games because I don't want to get excited for a game that's 1 million years away. But now that the trailer is out, I just couldn't help myself. And with that, I've decided I've wanted to talk to you guys about it because I'm a YouTuber. That's my job. So right off the bat, I think the trailer looks great. The initial area that it shows, which I assume is probably going to be the starting area, the shallows, looks nice, and it looks bright and colorful, which I think the beginning area of the game should be. My only worry is not necessarily coming from the trailer itself, but more what Sub-Zero did wrong, and that was I hope the game isn't bright. Subnautica 1, for being an older game, still holds up visually very well. But I would be lying if I said that the second game didn't look better, because it does. But part of the reason why it looks better is because everything glows. You can see everything, which in most cases is a good thing. I understand you want to be able to see what's around you, but Subnautica is a game that was built on its atmosphere. An atmosphere which is very well helped by the darkness. I myself wouldn't consider Subnautica to be a horror game. I never have. But I would say it's a terror game. Meaning I don't think the game tries to scare you, but I think it has a world that is inherently scary, if that makes any sense. The game does take place on a new planet, which I think is great. We'll be getting all new flora and all new fauna, and I do think that a new planet is a good start. I'm actually wondering if they're doing it on a whole new engine as well. Subnautica 1, while ran perfectly fine, it wasn't the best on a technical level, at least for me. I have a very capable computer, but even then it seems to struggle to run the first game. And in the trailer, one of the first creatures that we see is this crab with a bunch of coral on its back. And I must admit, I think that this is really cool. It is my opinion that the first game kind of missed an opportunity with having creatures that camouflage with the environment. Now, granted, a few of them would just pop out of the sand, but I don't really think that counts. They're hiding, just not in plain sight, so it's not as big as a surprise when they finally reveal themselves. Continuing on, we go down a current, which we'll talk about later, and then we wake up in the middle of darkness, probably deep. And I think that there is going to be a portion of the game, probably scripted, where you wake up way deeper than you're supposed to, and it's now about trying to fight your way getting up. I think that would be horrifying, but absolutely something that would work in this type of game. And I think it'd be even better if it happened super early on when you're just very ill-equipped to be that deep. If they wanted a unique way to scare the players early on, I think that would be a great way to do that. But then we get to this. What is this? Why are there 2 of them? So here's the thing. This means 2 things. Either 1, we're getting co-op, which has been confirmed, or 2, and what I hope isn't the case, is that there's other characters. It is my opinion that one of the biggest disservices that Subnautica Below Zero did, in contrast to the first game, is that you weren't alone. In the first game, you had your PDA and fish, and that was really it. You were stranded, and that was kind of part of the experience. But in Below Zero, there's an entire cast of characters that talk all the time. Robin, the Reaper Lady, Alan. It's like their characters, which I think are great. I think all of them worked fine, but I do think that their presence really took away from the feeling of isolation that the first game pulled off so well. So, if it's just co-op, which is optional, I'm completely fine with that. Although, I just hope that they don't include any other characters. I want this to be an isolated game. The feeling of isolation really adds to it. And a decent part of me thinks that that will be the case. The title of the game is Subnautica 2. There's no subtitle. Below Zero wasn't Subnautica 2, so something tells me that they're going to treat Sub-Zero like a side game rather than a proper sequel, which I'm totally on board with. Now that I'm done talking about what worries me about the atmosphere of this game, let's go back and talk about features. At the beginning, after the coral crab, there is a current there which sucks you down into this giant hole. I think that currents would be an excellent addition if they're done right. I could 100% see this being an excellent way to create barriers for the players to get through that are environmentally context sensitive. And I think that would be cool. My only worry is that they would become annoying or overused. I'm confident that the dev team will be able to make a way for them to be an obstacle without being a hassle to get through, or hell, maybe even make it something that you can actively work with. I think that would be cool. One thing from Below Zero that I do want them to bring over and keep is the different temperatures. I think it would be really cool to have to equip yourself differently for different trips based on where it is that you're going. Oh, I need to bring a parka because I'm going to the cold area. Oh, I need to bring a anti-parka for the warm area. Stuff like that. And while this next thing might be an unpopular opinion, I kind of hope that they keep a lot of the above ground stuff. Yeah, sure, it's called Subnautica. The whole MO for the game is that it is an underwater exploration adventure, which I agree with. It's cool, and I hope that they focus on that. But I think it would be a missed opportunity for all of the new creatures that could be made if it was all underwater. Yeah, sure, there's still a lot of space to grow and figure out what you want from there, but I actually didn't really dislike all of the island areas. Hell, even Sub-Zero and its reliance on above ground areas, I didn't mind at all. I actually thought it was kind of refreshing. Although, that being said, let's not bring up the ice worms again. If you are going to do above ground stuff, I do hope that you guys change or use your new engine to make that less clunky, as the first two games did have it a little bit off-putting how above ground movement worked. When I look back at the trailer, I noticed a distinct lack of precursor technology and structures. And I am actually quite on board with this. Yes, I think that the precursor race was probably the most interesting story point on both Subnautica and Sub-Zero. That being said, I do think that Sub-Zero went a little bit too much into it. So I don't really see a scenario where they make the precursor race seem mysterious and new again. I feel like that level of foreignness for that alien race is just no longer present in the series. So either one, they'll have to revamp it or find some new way to spice that up, or they won't include it at all, which I kind of hope is the case. That being said, the Steam page does say that exploring ruins will be a part of the experience. So I have to ask, will it be precursors or Altera structures? I could definitely see the latter being the case, and I'm actually on board if that is. But also, I hope they don't just do a different alien race. Like, yeah, sure, it's not the precursors, it is something different, it's a bunch of new stuff to explore, but I do think it would kind of be a cop-out if they just did aliens, but different. Now, while we're on the Steam page, there is this portion here where it insinuates that the PDA will be barking out orders, which I think would be cool. If the precursors aren't in the picture, then I think it would be pretty neat if Altera themselves were set up to be the villain. Or at least, I'm going to assume villain, based on the wording of the page, which I believe would be quite neat. Altera has definitely played a big part in both games. The first game, not so much. The second game, it had a much bigger conspiracy scandal to kill a bunch of scientists. But that being said, while they are very clearly set up as the bad guys, the corporate dystopia company, they weren't really an active villain, more of a side thing. I definitely feel like it was more, what's the mystery of what Altera did in Sub-Zero, and not Altera is actively being a nuisance and they're trying to kill me on this planet that has a bunch of sharks on it. And last but not least, I think this is the most important thing and the biggest thing that I hope they don't screw up, and that is the world itself. Subnautica 1 felt massive to me, and part of that was because you couldn't see that far. The game definitely made it feel bigger than it actually was, but Sub-Zero was tiny in comparison. The actual land mass itself was about the third of the size. There's a lot less traveling time and stuff. It was much quicker to get through, but it also didn't feel like you were properly exploring something. It definitely felt condensed on purpose. And it also wasn't that deep. It wasn't nearly as deep as Subnautica 1. And I understand that the depth is just a number, and really it comes down to what do they put down there? Is what they put that deep actually that interesting? Is it dangerous? Is it worth doing? It wasn't really that in Sub-Zero. You had to do it because of the story, but I also, that's the only reason you would go down there. The exploration part of it kind of waned very quickly once you got down there, because it definitely showed all of its cards very quickly and very early on once you got to the lower depths, which, once again, weren't even that low to begin with. So I do hope that above everything else, they make the game at least as big as Subnautica 1. I'd hope for bigger, and I'd hope for deeper. Don't take that out of context. The internet probably will, but don't. But yes, I hope the world is big. No, I hope the world is somewhat inconvenient. I have a feeling that a big reason why they wanted to make a smaller world for Sub-Zero is because they wanted to reduce the travel time, like when hauling materials and stuff, which, yes, is convenient. But I do think that there is a level of inconvenience that needs to be there for a journey to mean something. And I'm perfectly fine if I have to take 10 minutes to go from point A to point B, if it means that that journey from point A to point B is impactful. And if the world is big, then that solves itself, especially if each individual biome has its own dangers in itself, so you have to change how you approach different monsters and such, which I think would be neat. Although, with it being a new world, we're not going to be getting any return monsters. No return Leviathans, which I think is a little bit disappointing. I liked a lot of the designs of the first two games, but I'm also not exactly shedding a tear, because if they're not bringing over any of the old ones, that means we are getting a bunch of new ones. I just hope that the new ones are good and creepy looking and actually fit, and that there's a lot of them. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Subnautica 2. I am insanely excited, and I will absolutely be streaming the game once it comes out in early access. And although the early access portion of the equation doesn't exactly excite me, I don't really want to play an unfinished product, but with Subnautica, I don't think I'll be able to not play what's already available, because I've been looking forward to this for years. But yeah, I know this type of video came out a little bit out of left field. I just kind of turned on my microphone and hit record and then yapped a bit about a game that I'm excited for. I'm very yappy if I want to be. Yap, yap, yap. Or phrase, I'm pretty sure that's kind of part of it. But yeah, if you have played Subnautica and you are excited for Subnautica 2, please let me know in the comments what you thought of the trailer, or some things that you want included in the game that maybe wasn't teased or confirmed yet, but could be cool. I'm always up for a discussion, so yeah. Do like, comment, and subscribe. It does help a lot. And thank you for 1,000 subscribers once again. It took several years to get here, but I'm glad I finally worked up to this point. And now the next goal is 2,000 subscribers. Hopefully it doesn't take as long to get there, but also that kind of requires me to get off my ass and actually make content more consistently, which has become way more difficult, partly because now the only thing that I'm playing are 100-hour RPGs that are kind of difficult to make a video on, but that's okay. Either way, I hope you enjoy your evening, and I will see you in the next video.